Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and deceased. It is I, Emily Sophia, aka M Mighty Sophia, here to break down for you guys the latest episode of The Walking Dead. We are on season 6, episode 13, The Same Boat. So, spoiler alert before I dive into the mad thick of things, as I shall be doing my best to bear all in this review, and of course, if there are any major points that I fail to address or just really cool moments and details that hooked you right into things and I just don't bring it up, I would love for you guys to bring those things up down in the comments below. This video is just the beginning of the conversation, so let the rest happen down yonder. So let's do this thing, shall we? I don't know if I'm alone in feeling that this was perhaps one of my favorite episodes of the season so far. Namely because, number one, we get to focus on all of these incredible powerhouse women, namely the trifecta of Maggie, Carol, and Paula, who looks a hell of a lot like Jessica Chastain, a little uncannily so. The actress did a phenomenal job, by the way. So those are kind of the three key players that we have, of course. And then we've got like Malls and Shell and some of the other savior lackeys who are locking down Maggie and Carol as prisoners. But yeah, so we get to focus on these amazing women. We get to delve into their psyches, especially the psyches of Maggie and Carol, who now kind of their role in their team in Alexandria, their respective roles are, I think, on the cusp of major change. I took the time really quickly before I started this review just to kind of see what people were thinking about the characters and how they evolved in this episode in particular. And it sounds like a lot of people are either afraid that Carol is going to die or afraid that she is going to turn into another Morgan, which, Morgan is an incredible character, but there is this sense that Carol could very well be throwing in the towel, that she has gone too far. She is unable to completely push down all of the emotions that she feels in every human kill that she has made. She feels the parts of herself that are lost, that are sacrificed, that become more jaded with every step that she takes. And of course, this is a major episode solidifying the idea that our heroes are far from what they seem. They just so happen to be our favorite killers, okay? It's like the Dexter days and how we rooted for Dexter Morgan. He's our favorite killer because he's taking down the really bad killers. And that is something that is very thoroughly underscored in all the scenes that we get with Paula too, as Carol is putting on her incredible front of trying to appear like this innocent religious woman, with tears in her eyes, which, maybe there's a little bit of authenticity to those two when you consider the things that are turning in her mind and how she's realizing just how, how despicable her actions are. So she's talking about how, the reason all of this was set in motion was because her people were attacked by the saviors, but then it's like, you guys blew them up. And so it's like you tried to get back to square one. Who is worse? Who has done the dirtier, darker deed? And there's no beginning point to get to. Everybody has come so far and done so much, which that can be construed as a good thing or a very, very bad thing. So we really get to see people like Carol in the limelight, especially. She goes from putting on her amazing facade. It's so exciting to see her in action, but then seeing too how there is this delicate interplay of what she's putting up to kind of delude these people and to make them think that she's weak, and then realizing that, wait a minute, there's definitely something within me, something that is soft, something that is malleable, something that aches every time I come to the point that I am putting a bullet in another human being's skull. I think it's kind of symbolized really interestingly in Carol's use of cigarettes in the episode, for example. When she asks for the cigarette from Molly, I believe the woman was, and the lady's like, oh, so you can't even stick to your friggin' principles. Woohoo, look at you. And there's such an array of reasons why Carol takes that. I mean, it is to appear weak, but I think it's also to kind of help her cope with what she knows she's going to have to do. And she's trying to ramp up to, I mean, we have seen her in so incredibly skilled, incredibly vicious, incredibly efficient. She knows precisely what she's doing when it comes to protecting her own. But then it's that big overarching question of at what cost? And so ultimately, right before Carol leads all of the other saviors into the kill room, so aptly named, and she's talking with Maggie about the near 24 human beings that she has killed, and she takes that cigarette, smokes it, and then tosses it in. It's like from that same vulnerable place in Carol comes this fire, comes this devastating blow. She's the mother of dragons of the Walking Dead universe. But now the question is, what does this mean for her? She's come out on the other side and she's visibly shaken as Daryl is holding on to her. You can see that she has been deeply moved by the shit that just went down there, and I just like spat at my camera. As for Maggie enters a place of really crazy rage. After the interrogation with the other woman who she's kind of trying to find common ground with, ultimately getting out of that, and as she and Carol set things into motion, Maggie goes ham whenever she gets the chance. And I think that she perhaps is angry at herself for deciding to go on this mission, for putting herself and her child in this position. I mean, there's such an interplay of thoughts and emotions and things that I am sure are swirling around in her mind. But she herself deals quite a few devastating blows and finally realizes, like, yeah, I think I gotta call it quits. And for Maggie, that makes so much sense because it's like she said, she has made a choice. And so the ultimate way to make good on that choice, to have her child and to go forward, is to, bust out of their captivity and do whatever it takes to get there. And, she puts her heel down a couple more times than perhaps is even necessary. But this is her, it's that rage against the dying of the light moment. And so it's crazy to just see the trauma that comes out on the other side in both Carol and Maggie, and just hats off to those freaking ladies for the bullshit they have to put up with on a regular basis. As for Carol, I too am a little bit nervous that her character is about to change in a big way and could be stepping back from her more like murderous ways, which, I mean, isn't that a good thing? But it's Carol we're talking about too. And another thing that I was reading about is how it's a common trajectory for this sort of assassin style character to, like, where do you take them after they've become so hardened and after this lifestyle has been ingrained in them? I mean, the next natural step is for them to take a step back and to seek something more. And maybe Carol is going to find herself making her own choice, but I have no idea. I mean, she has been an irrevocably essential component of her team, has saved her companions more times than can be counted. But nonetheless, all of this is taking a toll. She is not just this this automatron who can just roll out and, bullets just spray down the masses, whatever it takes, because then it's like, that begs the question of, is she doing this out of a place of doing the right thing, or simply because she can, because she's unfazed? And, Carol says that, I think something that really shakes her is confronting someone like Paula, who is on a trajectory very, very similar to Carol's, but who ultimately took another path. And I think in seeing that mirror image, that foil of herself, she's like, oh my God, I could have been one of these saviors. I could have been Negan. Which, that's some really interesting rhetoric that was introduced in this episode too, is the whole, it's like, I am Groot, we are Groot, there's a Negan, and everyone else is a Negan, I'm a Negan, you're a Negan. Everywhere a Negan. Old MacDonald had a freaking farm. And, yeah, so. Sorry about that. But anyway, yeah, so we learn bits and pieces about the saviors, a little bit more about their world, and then a lot of them get blown to bits and pieces, or have their cheeks munched upon, or they get skewered and burned. This was quite a diverse assortment of deaths went down in this episode. But yeah, just the tension was astronomical with this week's chapter. I was on the edge of my seat. I think I still probably had heart palpitations from seeing 10 Cloverfield Lane. And so these escape stories are really getting under my skin. Amazing to see these powerhouse ladies doing what they do, but then also questioning those things, It wouldn't be nearly as fascinating if they never question anything. It even makes me think about the character of Mike from Breaking Bad / Better Call Saul, and how in the show Better Call Saul, you get to see a very different side of him than from Breaking Bad. He's this kind of assassin-level guy who, it all begs the question of, where did he come from and where is he going? These are questions that we're also asking about Carol, and, there's part of me that feels like it would be a disservice to her character for her to retire from this kind of position that she's taken on, because it's been so incredible to see that change. But at the same time, this is about her making a choice. And at this point, I trust the writers to do the right thing, to take us in a compelling direction. I don't know what this is going to mean for her longevity. I'm very scared in general. But yeah, I do so hope that Rick and company realize that the whole thing with, oh gosh, I don't remember what the name of the guy that they killed at the end was, Primo, I think. They're going to very quickly realize that the whole Negan game is so much more than meets the eye. I have no idea what waits around the corner at this point, but I am anxious. I am very, very anxious. What are you guys thinking? How are you feeling? I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Feel free to disagree, enlighten me, what are your thoughts about Carol's future, about Maggie's and everybody. Yeah, but this was a tight, tense, taut, thrilling experience. I personally really enjoyed it. A fascinating character study, lots of ladies, lots of action, lots of nitty-gritty goodness in my books. So I will be back next week for more. And as always, you guys take care, and I'll be back before you know it.